Season 4, that song always gets me so hyped. That's why I should have been a linebacker. So, okay. Yesterday, I was at a meeting in Denver when a colleague of mine came up to me and asked if I had a charger for him. And he's like, "Just the cord. I have the block, but I just need the cord." And so I gave him my cord, that good kind, that long 6 foot, doesn't get tangled cord. And I also gave him a portable charger so he didn't have to plug it into the wall. And I told him I need my cord back, but you can keep the charger because for some reason I have two extras at home. I missed the Amazon return timeline. And so fast forward later to that day, I'm on my flight back and I'm on a airline that I committed I would never, ever, ever, never, ever fly again, but yet there I was. And I was sitting because I never ever flew with them. Well, hadn't flown with them in about 5 years. I was sitting in the less bougie part of the airline, and this wonderful, she was wonderful, literally, elderly woman who also doesn't fly that much, clearly, because she didn't have the plane etiquette. She was hilarious throughout the whole flight. And nearing the end of the flight, she's like asking the flight attendant, "Hey, does someone can someone charge my phone? Can someone charge my phone?" And of course, I was reminded why I didn't like that airline because they gave such a snarky response. So I'm sitting right behind her, and I'm pretty much sitting on her back because she's laying in my lap. And so I offered to charge her phone. Of course, I don't have my portable charger, but thankfully, while her outlet wasn't working, mine was working, so I was able to charge her phone, and so she was very, very thankful. That was all good. And so, that leads me to the conversation about today. So, as I've started this new role, shout out to Spencer Stewart. I know we have a number of people that are watching. Hey. And I've been meeting new colleagues. I've been talking to other leaders over this time. And leaders meaning CEOs, C suite, leaders of communities, entrepreneurs. A theme emerged, and in fact, I'll take a step back. Tears were shed, and then a theme emerged. And that was that, we realized that many of us are operating without that charger cord. Many of us are in that day to day grind that we find ourselves in those different roles and where we are in charge, that we are, we're not recharging ourselves. Matter of fact, we don't even have a low battery indicator oftentimes. If you ever went to go use your phone and you realize that you're about to be out of juice. And so, how do we know one that is happening, and where do we go to get that charger to get back to full strength? So, more on that later. 5 years ago today, actually 5 years ago, I can't tell time and I can't tell calendars. 5 years ago on the 25th, we had the unfortunate circumstance where one of our best friends died during childbirth. And her daughter will turn 5 on the 25th of this month. But that triggered something within the three of us as healthcare executives, that how did we not know that in healthcare in this day and age in the 21st century that people still could die during childbirth? And so 4 seasons and many, 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 many topics later, we started the Pink Couch. And the intent of the Pink Couch is to have those uncomfortable conversations, bring them to the light so that we can talk about it. And going back to the theme that emerged, there is an uncomfortable conversation that as a leader, you have to have all the answers. As a leader, you're taking care of everyone else. This season, for the first show, we're flipping over the cushions, rearranging the pillows, and switching to have a conversation in the day centered around some of those conversations that that we're all struggling with as women leaders, regardless of where you're leading from. So we start season 4. EJ, so when we talk about how the the pink couch started, and we have this saying that the pink couch shows up wherever there's a need. What's our need today? What are we talking about today?
So let's talk about the swarm. And we talked a lot about this recharge, and I love the analogy that you used. And this swarm, the first time you said the word swarm to me, I was like, is that an infestation? Are we being attacked? Are we what are you talking about? And really started thinking about, bees and a plague and them coming at us and all things negative. And it was really around the attack. That was my frame of reference. When you swarm, it's around swarming around something, or swarming to attack and get to that right place. And when we really started talking and breaking it down, you think about your swarm, and to surround yourself with someone or people or things that show up for you, and they're there. Um, and we like to talk about the tribe, right? My tribe, you all know you're my tribe. We have various tribes. Um, and it's another word for tribe, right? And I keep saying tribe and tribe and tribe. I can say tribe. I'm Nigerian. We have tribes. We can still use that. Thank you. But and I say
I don't
that
think we're
intentionally
supposed to
because
be
there's
saying that.
cultural sensitivity there, but I can say it. Um, Shout out to the Igbos. Anyhow, um, but in all of that, right? At the end of the day, this is really talking about a large group. This is talking about your people and people acting together, not just acting, but acting quickly, acting fiercely with purpose to a common end. Whatever that need is, whatever that charge is, that's what's happening. And that's what the pink couch is. That's who we are. That's what we stand for. That's why we're doing what we do. So think of this. Welcome to your swarm, your community. And we're here to swarm and have those conversations that will refuel you, recharge us, and hopefully make you a little uncomfortable at the same time.
Yes, that
So,
uncomfortable piece is so very important.
um, understatement of life.
I was like, say more.
Right. I
Cliffhanger.
was like, you just gonna stop there? You just gonna leave us there?
Yeah.
So I think that, what's really important about the swarm is, yes, the recharge, because the recharge is extremely critical to you thriving, stepping into your greatness and living that full, abundant life that you should be living. But I also think that, I think back to the times where I really felt alone and vulnerable, and I wanted to have a swarm around me, right? The first time I can remember is being an undergrad at a school where there weren't a lot of people who looked like me or did the things I did or liked the things I liked. And I felt like I needed to have something and someone around me to support and lift me up, right? Joined a whole sorority for that. Shout out to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the first and finest. Um, and even in that phase of my life, that swarm was everything, right? I think as we grow and we evolve as a person, your swarm changes, your needs from the swarm changes. And so I think about when I was struggling with my own mental health, and I'd lost my father, and I was really trying to find my way through a path of depression. And in that moment, I needed a different swarm. I didn't need the swarm of people who wanted to come take me out and go have parties and, do all the fun stuff. I needed the person and the women around me who would say, what you're going through is okay. And it's okay not to be okay. And we're going to sit in it with you and help you through that. And my swarm that I found included the two of you to help get me through that, right? There's a group of us that we swarm on each other and restore every piece of us, not just the physical recharge, but also the spiritual recharge. I mean, how many times have we prayed for each other? How many times have we poured into each other in ways that you just don't find in other places? And so you two have been part of my swarm in the season that I needed it most. Right. And then there's the, I'm always a person of action. So I don't want to just be the one who needs a swarm. I want to be part of a swarm too, for someone else who needs me. And I've always looked to join organizations. As a matter of fact, I'm on the board for a few organizations that consider themselves to be a swarm for, women empowerment. And I've been a lifelong advocate of women and girls. And so I think it's super important to swarm early, swarm with purpose, and make sure that you not only collect from the love that is poured into you from the swarm, but you find a way to give back to that as well.
Great. Well, nice segue to our first conversation. I feel like I say, come into the stage. Oh my gosh, you cut your hair.
Hi,
How are you?
How
How are you? Good to see you. And welcome to the Pink Couch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of the first episode of this new season.
Yay.
Well, we are thrilled to
have you.
Looking fabulous as always. I love it. Bring the joy. You just pop in a room and it lights up. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things about you.
Spoken as EJ, you're the queen of that, by the way, just so you know.
You see the swarm? You see the swarm. We are living it right now. So we have talked a lot, and I think, about the issues facing women. Women in the C-suite, they face others, but there are these issues, and there's so many. Being treated equally, building a sisterhood, microaggressions, all of these things, generating revenue, tackling imposter syndrome. I could go on for days, right? And we've talked about a lot of this, right? And so when we look at this and this list and all of these things that are there, it brings me to, and we talked the other day, I rewatched this TED Talk, right? And it was this TED Talk, and the whole premise of the TED Talk was that women are raised to be perfect. Girls are raised to be perfect, and boys are raised to be brave, right? And so that plays out over time. We look at just the world that we live in and how women show up, quite frankly, in the workforce, and otherwise. So you've talked to hundreds, thousands probably of leaders, investors, entrepreneurs. You've seen the underbelly, quite frankly, of many of startups, funding rounds, etc. The point is, you've seen a lot. You've been around a lot. Is that premise that men are brave, women perfect, consistent with your observations?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the credit that sometimes in the funding world specifically, like there's a lot of biases that exist. So when we look at it and there's like 99% of those that are funding in the venture capital world are white males who have had a certain experience in life and gone to certain academic institutions and so on, it's really hard for them to trust teams that don't look like them, founders that don't look like them, and to invest in those companies. And time again, what I've seen is women of color, like they have to work like 1,000 times harder to show they're capable sometimes of getting the same funding, getting the same traction. And it is this perfection. You have to be perfect. You have to be a perfect mother. You have to be a perfect entrepreneur. You have to be a perfect, everything you do. And it's not the same metrics that are used for men. Oftentimes it is what's valued is, did you take risks? Did you put yourself out there? If you fall, that's okay, as long as you took the risk. It's not taught the same to women at all. It's take the safe route, be perfect, make sure you're doing it accurate. If something goes wrong, was that your fault? Did you not check all the boxes? So completely agree, EJ, completely.
So I have spent a lot of time talking to folks, and there's always this dilemma, this conscious dilemma of, can you simultaneously be a masterpiece and a work in progress? And can you do that? Can you do that as a woman entrepreneur? Can you do that as a woman executive? What's your take?
I think there's something so beautiful in being a work in progress while also being a masterpiece still. Isn't that like the foundation of life generally? Shouldn't we all strive to be works in progress, like constantly learning, constantly growing? If anyone ever says they're like perfect, I know automatically you are not perfect because there is no perfect, right? But I think absolutely. I think not only can you be a masterpiece and a work in progress, I actually think that's what we all should strive to be in life, in everything, like that continual hunger of growing. It's what's going to make us better, each of us. It's going to make our swarms, our communities better, but also just society in general, I think.
Well, Miss Shruti Katari, you are a diva and fabulous, and we look forward to having you back on the couch. And thank you for being here and chatting with us on this first go around.
I appreciate you all so much. This is an amazing forum. And I just have to say, Kennedy, I don't know you as well. I know Miss Robin and EJ more so, but all three of you are fabulous. I've been following on the other seasons, but just thank you for creating this amazing community. And I know I am looking forward to staying connected and hopefully everyone else too on the LinkedIn line.
You never know, the women of community might be here too.
Yes.
That's true.
Awesome. Thank you. Good seeing you. Great. All right. So nice segue. Talking about brave men. Coming to the pink couch, first time caller, lifelong baller. We have Sean Slavinsky. Man, good to see your face, Sean.
Good to see you too.
It's good to be seen. So Sean, well, first of all, as we were talking about this first season, and one of the things we wanted to be clear is that we are unapologetic around this being women in leadership, but we also know that right now, people that look like you are in the power position, as well as it's going to take a swarm. It's going to take a journey, or a number of folks on this journey to make sure that women are being seen and being able to get into those wonderful positions that you and your brethren have occupied. So, Sean, I'm just curious about your perspective around, as we're talking about that comment of bravery and women being perfect.
Robin, you and I have worked together the last, probably 6, 7. When you said, hey, why don't you come? Isn't that all about women? Are you going to beat up on me? No, I know. I think you've seen these. You and I have worked in, seen a lot of women who are more talented counterparts, but they don't get in the same way. As I was listening to your last and reading some of the comments that are, especially the one that says, even if 1,000 times harder for a woman. I was thinking back to, as a guy, in the leader I've promoted or taken an interest, executives and groomed to the next level, like I would, and help promote a guy with another male person, regardless of ground. Good job, show. If you do it you get a good job, but then you also have an affair. So interested in these two. And I know a lot of men, leadership positions, they have to quiet, promote, and support females and female leaders. This worry that someone else is going to die. Why is he so interested? It's really, it's very, very real. That's a hindrance. Brave and say, I don't really give a rat's. This is a good person. Got purple hair. If you're black, white, green, this is a good person, the right person. Forget the rest of you. Screw you. That attitude would go a long way to help
Yeah.
versus what I see happening.
Yeah, and you addressed the second question I was going to ask you around what it will take, and I think the other part of why we wanted you here is, yeah, I've worked with you, Sean, a couple different places, and when you think about a leader, and we think about the word sponsorship, and I think it can be watered down. But Sean is 100 feet tall, so he can take up a lot of space. But he walks amongst the people. He makes sure that all voices are heard as an empath and an inclusive leader. And so I thank you for joining us on the Pink Couch. We will definitely have you back because would love to have your perspective on a number of the other topics we want to make sure we're covering this season. But thank you for dropping by the couch. Thanks,
Thank
Sean.
y'all. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Bye.
So 2 minutes. I just want to ask Robin and Kennedy, what are your reactions? I'd love to hear. So where do you stand?
I think I'm still in the place of so I like Robin it's hard for me to call you Robin. I call her Ro for everybody else. But I think we similarly feel like things are better shown than told, right? And so I think the Pink Couch is a great opportunity to show people what a swarm actually looks like and what it can do and how they can benefit from it. But what I'm really interested in seeing is the Seans of the world showing us what their swarm looks like and what they can do with all the power that they have from the seats that they sit in. And that's what I am interested in seeing. And I hope we explore more of that, as I know we will as the season goes on.
Yeah, and I'll just say it louder for the people in the back. I am unapologetic around what we want to focus on, and it is women. We still have a gender pay gap. We have an equity gap in terms of occupying that top spot. In my new role, again, did I say shout out to Spencer Stewart? It's one of the reasons why I'm there, because now I get to be in a place to help change that and shift that, and having people that are like Sean and other Sean-like objects to have this conversation is how we begin to shift that. And I must say, though, for our male friends, and of which there are many, and there are a number of that are very supportive and are standing alongside us, behind us, in front of us, pulling, pushing, encouraging us along the way. Last comment that I'll make is that, in this day and age, as we are evolving as a society in pronouns and recognizing the individual, and for people not to want to be confined to checking a box. And so when I say women, I define it as women, whether you have the body parts or not, if you identify and appreciate and are perceived as, all for it. If you are a she, her, hers, a they, them, all for it, in terms of when we talk about women. So I just want to make sure we are very inclusive, and would be remiss if I didn't point that out.
Thank you for that. So we have had a lot of really, really, really great sort of make you stop and think a little bit about it conversations today. And I know at the end of every show that we do, we have to, it's great to have a conversation, but so what? We need to do something about it. So this is our charge to you. This is our do something, right? Robin talked at the start of the show about who your low battery indicator, right? And in your swarm, who is that low battery indicator for you? I want you to go and identify who that low battery indicator is for you. Who is that person? Who is that community, right? And you may not just have one. I have a few of them. Next thing, try and reach out to those who you haven't in a while. I was sharing, pandemic. I'm a new mommy of twin girls. Shout out to my babies. But I have not been in touch with people or stayed as tight as probably have had in the past. So there's a girlfriend I hadn't talked to in probably since midway through the start of the pandemic. So mid 2020. And something just randomly just sent her a text. And it was like she had had a whole life chapters written in the time since we had talked. And it was that moment where it was like, you got to check on your people. So I'm going to challenge you. Reach out to those you haven't talked to in a while. Send a text, give a shout out, give a call, send an emails, put up the bat lines, right? Whatever it is. And then have a conversation with your who. Don't just tag them and say, what's up? Have a conversation. See how they're doing. See what you can do for them. Figure out what the need is. So that is our charge to you. Take care of yourself as you are taking care of others, and reach out to your swarm because we all need it.
And I'll just add a little component. Uh-oh. I'll add a little component to that. Particularly as we talked about mental health at the beginning, make sure we're reaching out to those who appear to be at full charge, right? And so I think that's just as important to make sure we're doing that. And so there's a twofer of those you haven't talked to in a while and those who appear to have it all together in yellow and white. I didn't get the yellow memo. So Kennedy.
It's actually orange, but carry on.
Oh, the way mine is
Yes, it looks very yellow.
Again, orange. Carry on.
So just a couple final thoughts as we close out this episode. I think, we talk a lot about who your low battery indicator is. And I think all of the do something ideas that we came up with that EJ so eloquently shared with you, certainly put them into practice. I think I'm just going to add, we have to start listening to ourselves too. And we have to get introspective enough to know ourselves and understand our own indicators and to be able to listen when we hear them and when we see them, and sort of tracking back to this notion of perfection. Perfection at the cost of what? And so we have to get serious about really going inward and thinking about how we're feeling and whether or not we have tuned in to our internal indicators as well as the ones that we have externally. And I think it's so very important that we trust when we hear things from ourselves to actually not judge ourselves for it, but to take notice of the potential harm in where we're headed and course correct so that we can be our best selves all the time. And that is all I'm going to leave you with.
Yeah. So today was the emoosh boosh of what the season will look like, and just gave you a little bit of a sample with 2 individuals. So please stay tuned. Keep following us. Invite others to join in on the swarm. Make sure you're doing some of those do somethings. Be in every show with that do something, because that is just as important. It's great to see you all, my lovely ladies, on the West, and play that beautiful beam footage.